Hey everyone, Rizal here. You ever cracked open a history book and thought, man, this stuff is wilder than fiction? Well, get ready, because today we're diving headfirst into the wacky, the weird, and the downright unbelievable lives of some of America's most famous figures, the presidents. Forget the boring textbook stuff. We're digging up the juicy behind-the-scenes trivia that they probably wouldn't teach you in school. So, buckle up, history buffs and curious minds alike, because we're about to uncover some crazy presidential secrets. First up, the big guy himself, George Washington. We all know he was the first president, father of the nation, all that jazz. But what they don't tell you in history class is that old George had a bit of a dental dilemma. Contrary to popular belief, those pearly whites weren't made of wood. Washington's dentures were crafted from a rather unsettling cocktail of ivory, gold, and human teeth. Makes you appreciate modern dentistry, huh? But hey, it was the 1700s, and a president's gotta eat. Next up, we've got Thomas Jefferson, the dude who penned the Declaration of Independence. Jefferson was a man of many talents, architect, inventor, philosopher, you name it. But one of his lesser-known passions was a deep, abiding love for vino. During his presidency, he imported over 300 different kinds of wine. That's like a whole wine cellar dedicated to just trying new grapes. So next time you raise a glass of Cabernet, spare a thought for Old T. Jeff, the original American wine snob. Alright, moving on to a president with a slightly more explosive personality, Andrew Jackson, the 7th president of the United States. Jackson was known for being tough as nails, a real no-nonsense kind of guy. But what you might not know is that he was practically addicted to duels. Historians estimate Jackson participated in over 100 duels throughout his life. The most famous one went down with a guy named Charles Dickinson, who made the mistake of insulting Jackson's wife. Jackson challenged him to a duel, shot Dickinson dead, and walked away with only a minor injury. So, yeah, maybe think twice before cutting off President Jackson in traffic, you know? Chapter 4. Theodore Roosevelt, the bull moose who laughed at bullets. Let's talk about Theodore Roosevelt, the OG Rough Rider. Picture this, 1912, Roosevelt's running for president again, this time with the Progressive Bull Moose Party. He's about to give a big speech in Milwaukee when, bam, a saloon keeper shoots him in the chest. He looks down at the bullet hole, casually assures the crowd, it takes more than that to kill a bull moose, and proceeds to deliver a 90-minute speech with a bullet lodged in his chest. They really don't make him like Teddy anymore. Chapter 5. Franklin Pierce. The president plagued by tragedy. Sometimes being president isn't all sunshine and roses. Just ask Franklin Pierce, the 14th president of the United States. Pierce's presidency itself was pretty forgettable, but his personal life? That was a whole different story. Tragedy seemed to follow this guy like a shadow. His attempts to appease both sides just blew up in his face, and by the time he left office, the nation was on the brink of collapse. Chapter 6, John F. Kennedy and the Cuban Missile Crisis cliffhanger. Fast forward to the 1960s, the era of Camelot, the Cold War, and a president named John F. Kennedy. For 13 days in October 1962, the world held its breath as the US and the Soviet Union stood on the brink of nuclear war. On October 27th, at the height of the crisis, a US spy plane was shot down over Cuba. This was it, the moment that could have triggered World War III. But in a display of incredible restraint and nerves of steel, Kennedy chose not to retaliate and ultimately averted disaster. Chapter 7. Richard Nixon, the resignation that shocked a nation. Nixon's time in office was marked by both foreign policy successes and, of course, the Watergate scandal. It was a political earthquake that shook the nation to its core and ultimately led to Nixon's downfall. He's the only president in US history to ever resign from office. On August 9, 1974, he delivered his resignation speech, a somber moment in American history. Chapter 8. Ronald Reagan, the Jelly Bean President. Let's talk about Ronald Reagan, the great communicator, the actor-turned-politician, and, surprisingly, a man with a serious sweet tooth. Reagan loved jelly beans. Like, really, really loved jelly beans. He always had a jar of them on his desk in the Oval Office, and his favorite brand, Jelly Belly, became synonymous with his presidency. So, next time you pop a jelly bean in your mouth, think of Ronald Reagan, the jelly bean president, and his enduring love for those little sugary treats. So there you have it, folks. A glimpse into the strange, surprising, and sometimes downright bizarre lives of the American presidents. It's a reminder that history isn't just dates and names in a textbook. Next time you think about the presidents, remember that behind those stoic portraits and official biographies are stories that are often stranger, funnier, and more interesting than you could ever imagine. And hey, if you enjoyed this wild ride through presidential history, be sure to hit that subscribe button for more crazy history facts. Text on screen, subscribe for more crazy history facts.